We have thousands of people who go missing every year, just here in the United States, and there's no discrimination on the missing. They are young, old, black, white, male or female, even children. It's time to stop. Miracles is still missing, and they've not found any new clues. It's women who are pregnant, it's women who have jobs, and it's women who have not seen even fetal abductions. Have you seen me?
Welcome to my channel, everyone. Thank you so much for caring.
You're so beautiful.
Good crowd.
Yeah, good crowd. It's just a good energy, and I appreciate that. But I'll just start by saying that I am a personal witness of the resurrected Jesus Christ. I am his advocate, and I am his friend. He is with me. I know him, and it was a hard road to get to know him. It's not an easy road, but it's everything that I chose. In the pre-mortal life, that I sat down with him, and we discussed what I would have to do to get to this point. I knew everything I was going to do, and everybody agreed, and I made covenants with all of these people that they would play these parts in my life so that I could be here at this time. And it's a very important mission. It's something that I signed up for, so I blame no one but myself for what has happened in my life. When people hear my story, they're like, can't believe that you did that, can't believe you lived through that, can't believe that you're still here. But
Lori Vallow, the mother whose children were found buried in the yard of her fifth husband, Chad Daybell, speaking on an audio at a Preparing a People meeting. And some people are listening to this audio that are aware of this case, trying to figure out what she's referring to. For those of you not completely aware of Lori's backstory, in this portion of the audio, Lori Vallow is referring to her victimized life, her poor choices, mostly her marriages. She's supposed to be, at this time, a young woman who believes in God. She believes in trying to live the most righteous life as possible. But the people that she seeks out doesn't demonstrate that, because she seems to like bad boys. And one of those bad boys is William Lagoya, which is Kobe Ryan's father. And I'll go into deep details on another video on this relationship. William and Lori had a very dysfunctional relationship. One where Lori claims that William was always cheating on her and threatening her. Police were called into this relationship, and court papers were also filed. And it's the same for Lori's third husband, Joseph Ryan, and fourth husband, Charles Vallow. And what I want to mention is there are documentation of violent acts in these relationships, but they're attached to Lori and her family. So Lori's telling you in this that she made her choices in her life, and she takes responsibility of those. But it's clear that she feels, or at least she wants to make everybody else feel as if Lori was a victim, but she's aware of her choices and that she brought it on herself. But Lori gets practice being a victim at a very early age. And whether or not she was truly a victim still, at this time, hasn't been proven. So let's listen to the next portion of this video.
I too, like Melanie, have had the love of Jesus Christ who washed over me. There is nothing like that on this earth. It is life-changing and eternity-altering. I love my Savior with my whole heart. I have had some wonderful experiences. I have been ministered to by the angel Moroni. I have seen him. I have had lots of angelic ministry with people who wake me up 4 o'clock in the morning and tell me things to do. I no longer need to sleep very much because I'm woken up constantly by angels and giving me instructions on things that I can do to help further the Father's work. I don't know if you want me to tell the story or you don't want me to tell the story, but I feel like you do want to. Your story's pretty meaty. Yeah. Are you awake now?
So in this clip, you can hear Chad Daybell back there laughing. You know his laugh anywhere, as well as the rest of the group, when she says that the story's pretty needy. In this clip, Lori is talking about seeing things, and these things are waking her up. The things are angels, according to her. And this is happening so often that she's not getting much sleep, which makes me wonder if Lori is schizophrenic, because these things start to interfere with her life, and they actually start controlling her life at this point. So what is she talking about, angels? How are they able to tell her what to do? And where does this come from? So, to Lori, angels are God's agents. As agents of God, angels act as executors of God's judgment. When God decreed judgment on humanity, often he would send angels to carry out his judgment. So one example is judgment of Sodom, where angels they went to Sodom to pronounce judgment upon the evil city. And when these angels are sent, they do the will of God. They act with authority. And at the tomb of Jesus, 2 angels broke the Roman seal and rolled back the massive stone. This caused the entire guard unit to faint. And Lori's reading these things like in Matthew 28:2-4. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from the heaven, came and rolled back the stone, sat on it. For fear for him, the guards shook and became like dead men. Lori believes that angels bring God's message to humanity. This is keeping with the meaning of the term angel. God has used angels to send the following messages to humanity. And in the Bible, divine revelation has been given by angels. The martyr, if you will. In Acts 7:5-3, it says, "You are the ones that have received the law as ordained by angels, but you have not obeyed it." And oftentimes those angels are the most important messengers, and they announce the most important messages, such as the announcement of the birth of Christ and John the Baptist. But to this group, angels are more like a security or a warning to the people of God that things are about to become very different, because Jesus Christ is coming for the second time. They are voices of warning, which fits the title of a group that they belong to, another voice of warning, which is a doomsday preparation group. And Lori and Chad both are members. And so there's a few concerning verses like Luke 1:11 through 13. Then the angel of the Lord appeared there with him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was terrified, and fear overcame him. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, for your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will name him John." Lori is reading stories where apostles have been arrested and put behind bars or in jail. And during the night, the angel of the Lord has opened the doors of the jail and brought them out. These angels also guide people to new places. For instance, in Numbers 20:16, when we cried to the Lord, he heard our voice and sent an angel and brought us out of Egypt. Here we are in Kadesh, a town on the edge of your territory. So the works of angels can basically be placed in three categories. One, they are God's agents who execute his judgment. Two, angels are God's messengers revealing his will. And three, they are God's servants doing his will. And angels, at least in Lori's eyes, are very important and very crucial to where she goes in her life and in her future. But what my concern is, are these real angels that she's seeing? Because she really shows a lot of signs of she's struggling mentally. She admits in this audio that she's not sleeping. Everything is focused on working for God. That's all she's focused on. Nothing else matters, which means that she's very obsessed and overtaken by doing whatever it is God wants her to do, which makes sense later when we hear from her husband, her fourth husband, Charles, saying that if anybody gets in the way of her mission, they better look out, basically. But listening to the people in this room, they seem to be very supportive in whatever she's sharing. They find some of it to be funny. But the reality is, they just do not know how serious this woman can get. Or do they? Anyways, let's listen to the next clip.
It's been a long journey. There was a point in my life, there's a changing point in your life, right? You're a member of the church your whole life. I always loved the Lord. There's a turning point in my life that turned me to the temple. And this is what I teach everybody. And my change of heart was to the temple. So I had been married to someone who was very awful, who raped my children. And I had divorced him and gotten away from him. And he had joined the church. He spoke in state conference. Everyone thought he was wonderful. He was very good showman of all those things. And after we were divorced.
So, according to Lori Vallow, her third husband, Joseph Ryan, the father of Tylee, is the reason for her turning point in her life where she starts seeking the temple more often. Lori, when she was with Joseph Ryan, they lived a very, so it was a very comfortable lifestyle. She lived in a huge home. She had pretty much anything she wanted. And she wasn't really working. Again, this man in her life, she actually brought into her faith, her belief system. And it's important to understand that each and every man in her life, she's trying to control and get them to do what she wants them to do, or to be the person she wants them to be. And these men seem to have no problem with converting from something either they don't believe in or do believe in and changing it to believe in whatever Lori is supporting. Remember, Joseph Ryan was attacked by Lori Vallow's brother Alex Cox during their divorce. And this is very important to keep in mind as we go forward with this audio. Joseph Ryan and Lori Vallow went through years and years over the custody of their daughter Tylee. And Lori had actually said that Joseph Ryan had sexually messed with the children. But there was a huge investigation, interviews with the children. And it seemed that the children had been coaxed to say certain things, although we're not certain what really happened. But we can keep collecting information on Lori and kind of compare what we know to what we learn about her later. An interesting fact in this case is Joseph Ryan is also telling the court system that this woman, she's mentally not there. And so, anyways, let's listen to the next part of the clip. Because what she shares with us is in this next clip, there are clues. And there are so many likeness to what we hear later through her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, and several other people. So here we go.
He told everybody that I was this lying, crazy Mormon and got up in court and said all these horrible things about me and turned it around to where the judges believed him instead of me. And he was constantly trying to get custody of my 3-year-old daughter and just to rub it in my face. And I went through a lot of years of this kind of hard stuff. And I was going to murder him. I was going to kill him, like the scriptures say, like Nephi killed him, just to stop the pain.
So you can see that she is very open and very, very comfortable with screaming out the word murder and kill without any second thought. No refrain. Anyways, it's hard to imagine someone able to use that word in that manner. Guys, you might hear some wind in the background. We are having a hurricane come through right now. It's not that bad, so no worries. But I have trouble using those words, murder, in the videos that I cover. And as many times as I've covered these type of stories, it's still a difficult word to use. Lori uses these words so openly and so confidently. This is concerning to me. It's almost as if she wants people to realize how dangerous she can be. That's my opinion. It just doesn't make sense how she was so open about this. It would be different if she said, I just want him out of my life. I want to never have him in my life ever again. But that is not what she does. She uses these she's using these very condemning words, damning words, in front of a group of people with a trust I don't understand. And what this says to me is there are more than one or two people that are definitely knew that she was capable of doing whatever she was doing. And if they were in the room during the time she said what she said, when Tylee disappeared and things happened to Charles and JJ, you can't tell me that this did not go through their head. She says this is something the Bible says she should do. This is okay with God, and this is not okay with me hearing this come from her mouth. So now she's saying that God says, and angels, that it's okay to hurt another human being because you feel threatened. Although there's nothing been proven yet, you can take justice into your own hands and commit a murderous act. We know that Lori Vallow is not one who believes in authority or law. And we know her parents are the same way as well. So this is something that she's been raised up to believe in, is that any law or order does not apply to her if it's not justified by Jesus Christ or God. Interestingly, we know that Melanie Gibb is sitting in that room, and that says so much that I don't want to touch a do and don't, because she is one of the main witnesses that we hope that she will actually bring forth even more truth than she has already, because we know that Melanie Gibb knows so much more. So this is a very scary thought and reality. When you hear this audio, it just really kind of affirms just how she thinks, and that she does want to murder people. She said it in her own words, but she doesn't. We're always thinking that Alex Cox is the one performing all of these things, but is Alex Cox and Lori Vallow working together with this? There's no proof that she's not involved with this. There's one thing I feel like they're missing something. They've looked something over and Chad's property. I bet they might have gotten it, and we just don't realize it. Of course, they're not going to share everything. But considering the fact that she's always referring, when she talks to people like her son, when she's in jail, refer to Job, you'll understand. Everything is referred to some type of verse. And so there must be some type of ritual that must have been involved when the kids were laid to rest in her husband's yard. But anyways, this audio is going to hurt her tremendously. So let's go to the next clip.
I was going to murder him. I was going to kill him, like the scriptures say, like Nephi killed him, just to stop the pain and to stop him coming after me and to stop him coming after my children. And I just felt I couldn't take it anymore. And I would go through the scriptures and find all the things, like, if he comes against you once, if he comes against you twice, if he comes against you 3 times, then you can kill him. It says it in the scriptures in the Book of Mormon. I was like, there it is. There's my answer. I don't want to do anything that's wrong. I did not have a murderous heart. I just wanted to stop the bleeding and stop the pain. And so someone wise was speaking to me and said, you need to go to the temple. So I went and met my bishop, and I was like, I'm either going to turn my life to the temple or I'm going to commit murder. So do you want to give me a temple recommend? And I was perfectly honest, because at that point I had nothing to lose. You get to the bottom rung and I had nothing to lose. And he gave me my temple recommend. And I started going to the temple every week by myself. Not with my current husband, just by myself, to the temple, to the Mesa Temple, which I love. We moved here from Texas to get away from my ex-husband that was doing all this, but he moved here like 5 miles away from us, just to continue to torture me. That was his whole entire job. And Satan had been torturing me since I was a little kid, so I've had that fight.
So what's interesting here is she talks about she's in pain and that she's being tortured, and that there's one part, the end of this, she says something had been torturing her whole life. I can't figure out what that says. So she has definitely been a victim. But what was interesting was the fact that she says she talks with somebody, I'm not sure who it is, because I've got so much in my head, guys. I'm getting it all mixed up. But she's wanting to get a temple recommend. I guess it's been difficult to get. And she says that she had nothing to lose. She was pretty open with him. That's what it seems that she is saying. She tells him, I'm going to murder somebody unless I get this temple recommend. So she got the temple recommend. And if that's the way that it went, she's learning real quick that threatening people gets her anywhere she wants. And it's kind of crazy the way that she made it sound as if she was threatening to murder not just Joseph Ryan, but possibly others too. Lori says that murder is not in her heart, but she's in pain, which we all know is a complete lie. She also refers to the Nephi story, which I will post something here. You can pause the video and read over it. We're not going to go over it because it's a pretty big story. And then she says that the Bible gives her permission. It's like 3 strikes, you're out. And then it's okay to murder. And you won't have any repercussions for that. She just searches for all her answers in the Bible, and she will search until she finds the verse to fit whatever she really desires. She is convincing herself that it is in God's doings, and it's okay with Him. Whatever she desires is okay, and it's justified. And that's the disturbing part about it. Again, Lori Vallow is a victim her entire life. This is the game of a manipulator. Anyways, let's continue the clip.
I turned to the temple. I started going every single week. And when I had little kids, and we were in therapy all the time, and the kids were in therapy and doing all this. So I had five kids that I was dealing with.
Okay, what she's not telling people is what that therapy's for. Well, there's several therapy sessions she's going through. She's being evaluated for her mental condition, as well as the children are being investigated for possible sexual abuse. In fact, one lady who interviews Tylee Ryan says that it seems almost that, well, she makes it seem, and I don't know how true this is, that Tylee Ryan is kind of, the words have been put in her mouth, because when Lori walks in after a session, she basically, and I don't remember word for word, that she says, I told her mom. And she's referring as if, Lori had coached her into what to say. That's what the psychiatrist or the psychologist interviewing the children believe. Now, her son, Colby Ryan, later does an interview and says that he remembered Joseph Ryan doing things to him. But does he really? We don't know. Because those of us that are familiar with another type of abuse, which Lori is doing to her children, and it's done through manipulation, it's a mental abuse, it's hard for him to decipher what's real. But we do know that Lori has tons and tons and tons of evidence showing that a lot of people were concerned about her mentality. And this audio only better affirms that, well, those accusations. She may not have a murderous heart in her idea of herself, but definitely has a murderous thought. And that thought, your mind is basically connected to your heart. So that's where she is able to manipulate what she thinks. It just helps you relate to her mind and how she understands things. Moving on to the next clip.
And the Lord just taught me. He just taught me week by week. He was just teaching me, and He was just so patient and so kind. I would just be in there just sobbing. I would just be in there in the celestial room sobbing. And people would come up to me all the time and be like, "Sister, are you okay?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm not okay." And I'd just keep crying because I didn't want to tell anybody what was going on. I was just having my own pain. And I felt like, so the court told me that if I didn't take my daughter to him and drop her off with him as a 5-year-old every weekend or every other weekend or whatever the schedule was, that they would put me in jail. So I had to go take her to this monster, my little sweet little baby girl, and drop her off. And then I would go to the temple and I would cry, and I felt like someone was just stabbing me in the stomach with a knife all the time. I felt physical pain. I felt so much physical pain and emotional pain and mental pain. And in the meantime, I was dealing with a husband and 2 stepkids and my 2 kids, and then waking up screaming in the middle of the night, and night sweats and terrors and all the things that go along with everything that happens with that.
So that's very, very concerning to hear her say what she's saying. So it's been 2 years, and Lori Vallow is struggling with this obsession over keeping Tylee Ryan away from Joseph Ryan, her ex-husband. She admits that she has some very mental issues going on at this time. Makes you wonder if the people that have interviewed her are hearing what she's saying now. I doubt it. She says that she's having night terrors, and that she's just going crazy over this guy. Is it out of fear? I don't think so. It seems to me, and this is my opinion, that Lori Vallow cannot live a comfortable life unless she gets Joseph Ryan out of her life. This is a control thing. And as long as he keeps contacting her and trying to control what Lori doesn't want him to control, she is uneasy and she can't live a proper, comfortable life. And even after his death, she still continued to show the hate she had towards Joseph Ryan by saying things like the world is better off without Joseph Ryan. The worst thing we've heard, she said that he was a great showman. He was a great family. I can't find the word, supplier. He has done everything he could to please her until whatever brought them to the point of divorce. We know that the child custody was not the only battle she had. Her battle was to be financially stable as well. And you can watch other videos where I've covered that. I really can't say if Joseph Ryan was a danger to the children because we never had proof of that. But we can, like I said over and over and over, there is proof here, even in this audio, that she is mentally unstable and very unfit as a mother because she's really struggling to function a normal life. She's staying in the temple, and her life and to find comfort, the only place she can find it is in the temple. And she finds other things at the temple as well. There she hears voices that she says are angels or God himself, which is very concerning. Not saying that I don't believe in your beliefs, if you believe in angels and gods, but I'm saying that we know that angel and God are not supporters of all the things that Lori has done throughout this case.
So I just turned it all over to the Lord. I'm like, I can't do it. You have to do everything for me. Can't do it. And he did. He does it all. So for years and years, I went to the temple every week. If the temple's going to be closed for 2 weeks for cleaning, I'd go twice the week before and twice the week after. Those were the baby steps that he was leading me to. Once a week at the temple wasn't enough. It wasn't enough at all. And then I started going to the temple every day. Every single day. I started doing my current husband's family's work because he's a convert to the church, and started having miraculous experiences with his relatives. Miraculous experience. Once I do it, and I bear this testimony in Sacramento all the time, I'm like, I hate computers. I'm just of the generation, I'm 45, I do not like computers.
So here, Lori is going to explain to you that she hates computers and that she can't type very well. This contradicts the fact that during this case, they were able to pull up quite a bit of information where she seems to know how to spend money just fine, like at places on Amazon and for religious books. And it's also concerning how she says she gets her information from here on. For those of us who Listen, I'm not down in their religion, but everybody knows that what she's saying here is a lie, where she starts to talk about she isn't the one typing. She's not the one doing the research. It just mystically appears before her. So here's the rest of that clip.
They're not my friend. I have teenagers and 20-year-olds and they do it. And I sat down one day and told the Lord, I'm going to do family history and I don't know how to do it. So I need angels to come and type in this stuff for me, because I don't know how to do it and I don't like the computers. And I went up, I turned it on, I was super frustrated, I couldn't even log in, I was having all kinds of problems. I went upstairs to take a bath, I came back down, 9 names were in my inbox, ready to print, ready to take to the temple. Took them to the temple, did that work. All those people came and visited me at the temple. I felt every one of their spirits. 9 people with the last name White. They were my husband's family from Louisiana. They typed their names in. It was a miracle. They did their own work, and now every day I say, I'm signed in for 2 weeks. Come do the work, because I still can't figure it out. I've done about 1,000 names. I still can't figure it out. They still type their names in all the time. Like, you want your work done and you know I'm going to the temple tomorrow? Come do it. And then I'll have a huge stack in my purse and I'll be walking down the hallway and saying, who wants to go today? And a name will come to me, Nancy Bowers. And I look, do I have a Nancy Bowers? Ooh, there you go. Wow. Nancy Bowers is ready to get her work done. And so through those blessings, through that treachery of going to the temple, and then...
That's a very curious statement. Treachery, going to the temple. That was her love of her life, but now it's a treacherous job. Now, interestingly, who pushes doing the family research? Chad Daybell. Chad Daybell is big on doing the family research. He has often commented to his wife, Tammy Daybell, to stop playing games and to go back to work at the temple, submitting the ancestors for it's the baptism for the dead. And if you're not familiar with that, you can refer to my older videos. So around this time that Lori Vallow is getting into the temple and she's doing this family research, it's around the same time that she is in daily contact with Chad Daybell. So now you can tell that Lori Vallow seems to get stressed out, extremely stressed out, and deals with a lot of anxiety. She even seems to have signs of carrying the post-traumatic syndrome from having to deal with divorce with her husband. Not that he's done anything physically to her or threatened her. He's just fighting her for custody of his child. And that's extremely stressful for her. So just mark in your notes, guys, around this same time that Lori's getting stressed out about going to the temple instead of loving it, she's speaking to her lover, Chad Daybell. So here, let's continue this audio.
I'm going to the temple, and then after I've had this washing over of the Lord, who gave me all of his complete love, all of his peace, which is not of this world. I've spent so much time in dark courtrooms where the evil powers overpower those rooms. And I spent so much time in there that he washed all of that away for me. And then he sent me on a mission. So he told my husband and I to move to Kauai. So we're like, you really want us to move to Hawaii? Like, I'm going to need a confirmation of this, Heavenly Father. Like, you're going to have to tell me this again. So I had 6 confirmations in the temple that we should move to Kauai. And the very last one was a lady who I went in, it was before I started doing my own names. And I went into the dressing room and she said, oh, would you do a name for me? And I said, oh, sure, I love to do names. You know, I did. I grabbed her name, looked at the name, put it in my pocket. And I told my father, I was like, I know you've given me like 5 confirmations, but I really need to know, this is a big deal. I have to leave my baby and her baby's like, I'll go do whatever you want me to do, but I really need to know this is what you want us to do. And so I'm in the Mesa Temple, and as soon as I'm going through the veil, look at this card, I open it up, look at her name, and it's stamped Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii.
And the date was the day before. And I know this lady because I know Hawaii. I lived there for 3 years. So you'd have the overnight flight. So she was yesterday in the Laie temple, and then she's flown overnight, and now she's in the Mesa temple handing me this card. Would you do a name for me? Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. The Lord is in all the details of our lives. And so I go into the dressing room, and I was in the dressing room just getting dressed because I've got to go pick up kids. And he shows me my whole life is full circle to come to the point. I had to marry this husband, to adopt this child, to get to this point, to be in Kauai at this time, because these people there needed me. So we were in Kauai for 3 years. I thought we were going there forever. I loved it there. We were in this tiny little branch. I served as a primary president. I loved those children. We had so much fun doing that. And then I was at the Laie temple, which I would take people, reconvert them. They're like, you're the primary president, but we don't have anybody for you for counselors. So you have to either reactivate people or baptize people. So I reactivated 2 sisters, went with them to the Laie temple, flew them over to, because you have to fly from Kauai to Oahu to go to the temple, got them their endowments, helped them through the whole temple process, because that is where the Lord is, for he walks those very halls. He is there. And I said, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the gateway to get you to the temple so that the Lord can teach you himself. He doesn't need anybody else to teach you. He teaches you. As you take out your time, which is the very first thing you consecrate when you raise your hand, you consecrate your time on this earth to go do that work. When you take out your time, and I'm telling you, all those people on the other side that have already lived on this earth, they know how busy we are. They know what it's like to be in mortality. And for whatever reason, they didn't take the time or they didn't have the ability to do that work for them. They are eternally grateful. I was in the sealing room one time and I saw a sister, a spirit sister. It was one of my husband's aunts, come over and she kissed me on the cheek before she disappeared through the wall. And I'll tell you, I've had people talk to me. I was in the sealing room with my husband and they were going through names and we were sealing these daughters. And all of a sudden I hear this voice super loud, really loud. Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. Twice. And I look around. I looked at the sealer. I looked at my husband. I'm like, anybody hear that? No? Okay. And so I remembered the name that we were doing because we were doing like 10 daughters. I remembered the name. I went home. I looked it up on my family search. Sure enough, 2 daughters and a son that were on there that I had missed because I don't even search it. I just let the angels do it. And I printed out their names. And I took them to the temple and my teenage daughter did the baptisms and I'm going in to do their initiatories. And they're both standing in the room with me, in the first room, first booth before you go in. And they said to me, we're bringing our brother like you're bringing your brother. And I thought, how do they know that my excommunicated brother, who I love, who is now awake and knows everything I know, how do they know that? Because they know everything that is going on in our lives. They know everything. They're very involved in our lives. They're very interested in what we're doing right now because this time, the time is now. The Lord is gathering his people. He is calling people to the 144,000. They're already being called. They're already being sent on their missions. They're already going full circle. The time is now. He is coming.
Okay, I want to say this before I forget. So there's a sign, September 23rd, that there's end times coming. But we'll go over that in my next video. You hear Lori blatantly state that it's time. The time is now. It's not tomorrow or yesterday. It's now. They are preparing for the second coming of Jesus Christ. And there's only a select few attached to that 144,000. In my opinion, I believe that Lori thinks that many of them will die a martyr's death. Not so much her, because she believes that she is a translated being and she's untouched by death, but many others. So when they died this martyr's death, those are the voices from beneath the altar, and they called down this judgment on the earth. And Lori understands that this 144,000 are specially selected to go unscathed through the fire. And so how a lot of people are thinking that Lori and I are just looking at the viruses and the pandemic and so on, thinking that this is the major sign for time, but that's not it. They even believe that there's a possibility of Planet X, the majority of them. This Planet X is coming to destroy Earth soon. Now, I haven't had time to research this, but she mentions her brother being excommunicated. Although he's awake and he's still taking part in whatever they're preparing for. And Lori believes that they are special and that they are the ones where they have been marked with a seal and the promise of the Holy Spirit. In Ephesians, it says that the promised Holy Spirit, which is the deposit of guaranteeing our inheritance until the redemption of those who are God's possessions. The 144 are mentioned several times throughout biblical scriptures, such as Revelation 7 and 14. So in this scripture, it says, after 4 angels were seen standing at the 4 corners of the earth, they held back the earth's 4 winds, so that no wind would blow against the earth, the sea, or any tree. Then it says that I saw another angel coming up from the east, holding a seal of the living God. He cried out with a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given the power to damage the earth and sea. He said, do not damage the earth, the sea, or the trees until we have put a seal on the foreheads of those who serve our God. So those sealed were not to be harmed. And so John is actually getting these visions of the end of the world. Likewise, Lori, as well as Chad Daybell and a few others. So Lori Vallow has fornicated before marriage and many other sinful things that she has done in her lifetime, believes that she's very righteous. And so what are the expected of the 144,000? So they are extremely righteous men during their time while alive. They were ordained by angels whom is given power over the nations of the earth. Their purpose is to come down in the end times and assist people to obtain exaltation. So in other words, they're also gatherers, as Lori has been many times titled. So something this group is used to, especially in the 20th century, they're treated as the most persecuted creed in America, but has since then grown another at least 5 million. It is no doubt that a successful religion is about recruitment, or in some religions such as Islam, it's kind of pushed onto you, or you get threatened. She talks about her brother being excommunicated from the church, but we don't get details as to why. They do excommunicate on a regular basis. If you look at the list is basically contained of a lot of political leaders. That was interesting. A lot of feminists or activists, actors, writers, and homosexuals, lesbians. Clearly, they are targeting people with a free mind. Melanie Gibb continues to be a member of the church. Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell are actually excommunicated, but it took a long time. If you think about the fact of how long Chad Daybell's been leading this belief system and end times. So many people are trying to figure out who's the true leader. Is it Lori Vallow or Chad Daybell? And so that's quite interesting as you look into this case, because it seems to me, as far as where I'm at in my research at this time, they are running head to head. Lori's not eating, she's not sleeping, so this must play a humongous role on her mental stability. And she just really doesn't realize it. She so loves Jesus Christ, and this is something that is fact, that she has lost all reality. And it also appears to me, and I'm going to keep saying this, that she suffers from some type of mental illness. Listen to this next clip, and you will hear her when she states that, "I'm so innocent, and I'm so sweet." It's one of her delusions of herself. She acts like she's shocked that God has chosen her to be this grand leader. But then again, she's very confident that she's just this great, sweet, innocent victim to all the evils surrounding her, as if she doesn't belong to be among the rest of humanity. She is filled with this greatness. Her whole entire life, this is obvious. She believes that she's just so perfect in God's eyes. But then again, she's surprised. She says, "Why me?" Then she builds herself back up for her audience. Here we go.
He is preparing us, and we promised we would do it. So I was standing there in this moment by myself one time in that first booth going through and doing initiatories. I told the Lord, "Why would you do this to me? Why? You made me this super sweet person. I'm so sensitive. My whole life, everything hurt my feelings. I was totally sweet and innocent." And I was like, "Why would you ask me to fight this life and be this warrior? Why did you send me here? You know my personality. You know I hate to fight. I will avoid a fight at all costs." And he gave me a pre-mortal memory of me. And I got to see myself as a warrior fighting for the Savior in the pre-mortal world. And I went to other worlds and I fought. And I was one of his strongest warriors. And I saw it. And he showed me so that I could never deny it again. I was not sweet. And I was not innocent. I am old. I have fought. I have fought in this war for millennia. And that's who I am. And I came down here to be a warrior and fight. And I only thought that I was sweet and innocent. I am sweet. I am a sweet person. Don't ask my husband, but I am.
Okay, guys, I have to end it here. But I want to say thank you so much for those of you who support this channel. You like and subscribe, and a few of you even donated to my Patreon, and I want to say thank you so much for that. But I'm going to have to cut this video short. It's kind of long. It's not short by any means. But we'll have to do a part 2. Anyways, guys, there's another video that I'm working on. Don't forget to check out these girls that are still missing. They have a lot of missing time underneath them, and we need to make sure that we can get justice, at least bring these girls home to their families. Love you so much, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.